All right, welcome back outside at Lando Lakes Field. Gabe Henderson, Bryant McFadden from CBS Sports. B-Mac, Vikings fans are very fond of you from All Things Covered, the podcast you got on CBS with P2. Of course, you know a lot of things that of course, you guys talk about a lot of things, but one thing he always talks about is being that missing piece for the Minnesota Vikings. Why do you feel like that's the case?
The leadership. The leadership he will provide, especially in the secondary. When you look at the cornerbacks, last year you had quite a few young guys, taking their turn at the position. Being able to add a future Hall of Famer to that unit is huge when it comes to the development and being able to provide experience and coaching as well. When you look at having a significant, impactful defense, I think it's imperative to have key guys on every level. When you look at the defensive line, the Vikings have that with Hunter. When you look at the linebacking core, you have two guys, Barr and Kendricks. And then now at the cornerback position, they have Pat P. When you look at the safety position, you got the hitman. I mean, that's structure that you need to have, especially when you're playing a division that has Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking of stopping a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you got a defensive back-minded coach. Similar to you when you played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin, defensive back coach. Head coach, he understands what the defensive backs are supposed to be doing. Mike Zimmer, defensive back coach first, head coach here. Anything? What's beneficial about having that?
What could be beneficial could be a bit annoying because Mike Tomlin used to always stick his head into our room a little bit or sit down and just watch what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they have a biased take because that was their specialty before they became the head man in charge. And there's no difference. When you watch Coach Zimmer at practice, one would say he's kind of paying a little more attention to what the secondary guys are doing than what the offensive line guys are doing or wide receivers, because that was once his specialty. But also, too, when it comes to the coaching element, you're going to get the best.
Right.
You know what I mean? When your head coach was a secondary guy, he's going to give you some snippets from what he understands can help you be better as a player when he was coaching that said position. So it's all in all. And also, too, I know as a defender, I might be a bit biased, but I love my head coach used to be a defensive-minded guy.
Right.
Because defense still win championships. I don't care what people says about points and offense and entertaining and all that. No, that's bogus. For you to get to a championship level type of game, you better have a stout defense that can get you to that point. Now, offense might take over from them, but
still
to
got to
get
score.
Defense win championships.
Defense wins championships for sure, but I want to talk about a guy that a lot of people aren't talking about, because you still got P2, you got Bashaud Breeland, but like yourself, before you had that big time PBU in the Super Bowl, you were once a backup. You started that year as a backup. For a guy like Cameron Dancer that knows how to play but is learning from veterans, what is the mindset?
Be a sponge every day. Be a sponge. Try to soak up as much knowledge as you can from some of the veteran guys that are surrounding you. Cam played some pretty good football. He had his highs and his lows, which is expected from a young guy. But just develop. Be consistent. Every day you want to get 2% better. Every game you want to get 2% better. He has everything you would want your corner to have. He's lengthy, athleticism. He can run. Long arms. I mean, he has everything you would want your NFL corner to have. He just has to be able to improve when it comes to the above the shoulder element, which is the mental aspect, and just be consistent.
I feel like this whole conversation is talking about you playing ball and how it relates to us doing now. And you got drafted as a nickel cornerback, right? So when you got a guy in Irv Smith Jr. that's putting pressure on the defense, when you got a tight end, and of course you got to bring a nickel sometimes on him because he can stretch the field, but what does that do to a defensive coordinator with a guy like Irv Smith Jr.?
See, when you look at Irv Smith, who I believe should have a huge, huge year this year, he better because of what is surrounding him. You got to have a guy that could be, stout in coverage, but he's not a liability in the running game. You know what I mean? So that's what the league is trending to offensively. These athletic tight ends that can run like a wide receiver, but they have an offensive lineman type build when it comes to being able to block and things like that. But defensively, that's a matchup nightmare.
Yeah.
Not to mention in the offense, you got Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. You have three other guys you got to devote so much attention to. You will give one-on-one opportunities to Irv Smith just based on what is surrounding him.
Right.
So it's imperative for him to take advantage of these opportunities. So me personally, there's not a nickel that should be able to be on the field with Irv Smith, because if you're running the football, that should be an advantage in the Vikings' way because of his strength and his size. He should go off. He should do big-time numbers this year, and I may draft Irv Smith extremely high on my fantasy team this year because my expectations is about as high as this building right here. And that's a high building.
It's 4 floors here at the TCO Performance Center.
4 floors.
And as high as this gets, it's the ceiling for this entire team. And you already got the Minnesota Vikings winning the NFC North.
You heard me? You heard that too?
I heard that.
Yeah, I said it. I told Pete Prisco that as well, and he was just on here talking real good about the Vikings, but he don't believe the Vikings can win the division. How about that? That's very two-faced, right?
So what about being a contender? What is it going to take for them to be a contender if they make the playoffs?
Well, you know, one thing I say about this all the time, me playing in Pittsburgh, I went to 3 Super Bowls, we won 2. The best team doesn't always win a championship. Sometimes it's the luckiest team, and it's the healthiest team. And now when you factor in what we're all dealing with, not just injuries, the COVID situation, you have to be able to dodge that bullet as well.
Right.
But to be a contender, you got to be healthy. You got to be healthy, and you got to have players step up when their number is called. Because injuries will occur, it will happen. But you got to have sound depth at those said opportunities, at those said positions to be able to take advantage and just play consistent football. Play consistent football. You know, I tell people this all the time. You throw to score, you run to win. And when it comes to the running aspect, you got a guy that can win ball games, who can be the ultimate closer for you. So the Vikings have everything you would like for a championship team to have. They just got to put it on film.
Got to put it on film. And one thing that's going to be on film later today is your All Things Covered podcast. You got the Neil Hunter and Justin Jefferson, right?
No question. We're excited. Man, listen, I can tell you this much, man. I appreciate the Viking fans. Skull Nation has really been very, very supportive of what we've been doing, Pat P. Instantly, you guys welcome into the family. You welcome the podcast into the family. We're doing it live, CBS Sports HQ today. You also will be able to see it on our YouTube channel. Appreciate the support. And I can tell you this once. You know, when the Vikings go to Los Angeles for the final game of this season, we should probably do a podcast out there as well.
I like how you think.
Yeah, I put things into the universe and I'll allow it to manifest. So I said that. The final game will be in SoFi Stadium, the Vikings, against whoever comes from the AFC. I said it.
I love to hear it. That's Bryant McFadden. I'm Gabe Henderson. Thank you again for joining us for another edition of 1-on-1.